Okay, let's get into how to shoot video, how to create videos from more of a technical point of view. And I want to give you some tips and things to think about and stuff that I wish I had known when I first started. First and foremost, you can do almost everything with your phone. You don't need a fancy camera. Pull your mobile phone out and just start shooting. Now, it's going to be probably a little rough at first. That is okay. Everybody I've ever met that started doing videos always started in a place that was kind of rough. Everybody. And you get better at it. It's just something you just naturally can't really learn until you just start doing it. That being said, I'm going to give you some pitfalls to avoid. So number one, if you're not using your phone, if you're using like I'm using a DSLR camera, it's kind of an expensive camera. It's about $400 or $500. It's a Lumix, and I didn't start out with this camera though. And I really only use this for like YouTube, like training videos like this, what we're doing right now. But oftentimes when I'm doing a quick YouTube video, I'll still use my phone because it's so much more convenient. It doesn't take hardly any time to set up. It's really fast. Okay, so if you're using a camera that's not your iPhone camera, make sure that you're in focus. So I spent a little bit of time before I made this video making sure that I was in focus. Now, I want to point out something. There's something called depth of field, and I'm not a big photographer. I'm not going to get into a lot of this, but depth of field is the area in which I'm in focus. So if you looked at my hand right now, maybe if I do it like this, it'll be a little better. And if I start moving closer and closer to the camera, do you see how it's out of focus? This area right in here is out of focus. Right in here, it's in focus. And back here, where this ukulele is out of focus. So the depth of field is about like this wide. If you were to look at it from my point of view, it's about like this. So I can stand in this space right here and be in focus, but as soon as I get too close or I get too far, I'll start getting out of focus. That's something to keep in mind. Depth of field is really cool because it makes things in the background a little bit blurry, and it kind of isolates the person in sort of a pocket space. And if you have a good camera, you can control that depth of field. So if you're using your mobile phone, you don't have to worry about that. I just want to point that out, that you want to make sure you're in focus. And you want to be able, if you have the opportunity to control your depth of field, get into that. It's a lot of fun. All right, next. Always stay, when you're talking to the camera, if it's just you talking to the camera, keep your head above the horizontal line. So here's about the horizontal line for this video, somewhere in here. My head is above that. My eyes, it's mainly my eyes. My eyes need to be above that. If you do all your videos like this, it makes you look very small and weak and intimidated. It makes you look timid. And I want you to be strong. I want you to come across strong. Because if you're passionate about what you're doing, these subtle things matter. So keep your eyes above that fold. Next, look into the camera. Make sure you're looking into the camera. It's very easy. A lot of people forget that and they'll look at the viewfinder or they'll look at the computer the whole time. I've been watching a webinar this week, and it's a great webinar, really good teacher, but she stares at her notes the entire time while she's talking. And it's a little odd. You got to get used to staring at the lens. Let's talk about camera mounts. If you're using a DSLR camera, of course, you're going to probably need a mount to put your camera up on it. But if you're using your phone, you can either hold it out and talk, which is fine, totally fine. But you can actually get better focus and you can get a better picture if you use one of those cheesy selfie sticks. Here's a selfie stick. I can put it way out there. And the great thing about it is I can have the camera quite a bit further from me, and I can be a little bit more full in frame than I can with just my hand, just holding it up. I know these things are cheesy, and you find them at dollar stores, and they seem like they're cheesy. These things are awesome. Selfie sticks actually make for really good videos. Once you get past the idea of people looking at you, if you're out in public doing a video and people are looking at you shooting your video with a selfie stick, it kind of looks a little bit like you're a tourist. I get it. Once you get over that and you stop being self-conscious about it, these things make great videos. A lot of times they have a button where you can hit play. Like this one has it's a Bluetooth. I don't even think this works anymore, so I don't even use it. I just hit record and then hold it up, and then I'll just edit out the beginning of the video. But you can use the button on it if they have that to start and stop. Just make sure that it's compatible with your phone if you're going to do it that way. The other thing I want to recommend is a mount for your car. I love these guys here. This is the NATO Smart Mount. They're really cheap. I'll put the link below. I literally buy 6 at a time when I get these things, give them to friends. You can put it in your car. It's very sticky, but it's magnetic. And then you put a little plate on the back of your case of your phone, and then it just sticks right in. They're great when you're in the car. First of all, when you're navigating, but oftentimes I'll do a video in my car, and I will, not while I'm driving, but when I'm stopped in a parking lot, and I can just mount it right there on my dashboard, start talking, use my hands, be expressive, and it frees me up to do that. These things are awesome. I actually have one on my monitor, on my computer. I have one upstairs as well. I have them in our other car. I love those things. They're great for the kitchen. If you're doing a recipe, you just mount them places. Highly recommend those. Okay, let's move on. Next, when you shoot video, always shoot video horizontally. Don't ever shoot video like this when you're talking to your phone. Why? It's because when people want to maximize it on a TV, on their YouTube channel, on their desktop, they're going to maximize it like this. And most people on their phone, if they're into a video, they'll do this, and they want that video to fill out their screen. If you're shooting video like this, that vertical video looks terrible in a horizontal configuration, right? So always shoot your video horizontally, even when you're doing a selfie. Always, don't ever not do that. The only time that some people do it vertically is for ads like on Instagram or Facebook, because they know people aren't going to watch the whole video. They're going to be scrolling up, and it kind of fills out the screen better when they do it in a vertical mode. But I strongly suggest doing everything in horizontal. Don't even make that an exception. Next, make sure your phone's video is set to 1080p or higher. 1080p is a resolution of how good the quality is. Have you ever been watching a video and the resolution of the video is really crappy, and then you try to blow it up to fill out your browser and your computer, and it looks even worse? It's because they didn't record it in a high quality. It's not in HD. So HD means 720 or 1080 or 4K. Now, 4K is a little overkill. It's going to take up a lot of room on your phone because it takes a lot of storage space. I strongly suggest 1080p is fine. If you have the option of what they call frames per second, I strongly suggest putting that on 60 frames per second instead of 30. It'll make the motion, anytime you're doing motion or filming something, it looks clearer, and it has a transparency to it that makes it even more attractive on your channel. It kind of makes you come out of the screen a little bit better. Next, audio is king. What do I mean by that? What is more important when you're conveying a message? Seeing you? Is it more important for your audience to see you, or is it more important for them to hear you? Believe it or not, even though it's a video, believe it or not, audio is way more important than your video. So if you have to sacrifice something, if something's not as good, like maybe your resolution on your camera doesn't have a great resolution, maybe it's like 720, that's okay, as long as people can hear you real well. Yes, if you have the option to have really nice lighting, like I've got some green lighting and stuff, and I've got a panel in front of me shining on me, those things are great. Those help your videos as well, but it's not necessary. It's always important to default to really good audio. Really good audio. Now, I am a big, big fan of acoustic treatment. Why? These little panels that you can put up on the wall, and I use pins, those little T-pins, you just stick them in. You can tack these all over the wall without really hurting the wall much. You can tape it and stuff like that, but I don't really advise that because it's hard to get off if you ever want to change the room to something. But these things are amazing. I'll put a link below of what I use. I use Auralex. I think I paid $400 or $500 at one time for these. Now, if you don't want to get into acoustic treatment, totally fine. If you don't have a dedicated room in your house, you just want to shoot video anywhere, that's totally fine. Just make sure that people can hear the volume, hear your audio. If you're talking and you're getting a lot of reflections around the room, that's a big no-no. That's not going to come out well in your video. I strongly suggest just putting cushions, pillows in the room. If you have a room with a lot of drapery, like window treatments and couches and things like that, that's going to sound way better than a room with a lot of hard surfaces. Because if it sounds like you're in a bathroom, it's terrible. It's really hard to understand somebody in a video if their audio is not recorded in a space that absorbs that reflection. So keep that in mind. The other thing is if you're going to record in a noisy space, like you're at the mall and you want to do a quick video, that's fine. Just make sure you can hear it. Do a quick test to make sure people can hear you. That's when a selfie stick is actually a little bit bad, is if you're in a public space that has a lot of noise. If you put that selfie stick out, it's that much further your microphone is from your mouth. That's going to be really tough to hear, right? So if you're going to do a selfie in a really busy place, do it with your hand and just hold it really close. People will see all the pores in your skin, but at least they can hear you. So it's a trade-off. So keep that in mind. The other thing, if you are into studio gear and you might be a photographer or videographer or something like that, you might want to invest in some audio gear. I currently use a dynamic microphone for all my videos. This is a Sennheiser MD421. I'll put a link below if you're interested, but it's way overkill. You don't need this. Now, I like this microphone because it has sort of a radio quality, it kind of makes my voice, I don't know, it just kind of enhances it a little bit. And I run it through a little bit of software as well because I'm an audio geek. But again, you don't need to do any of that. What I do suggest, though, is you can get a lavalier mic. And I'm going to put the link below, but it's made by Shure, and it hooks up right into your phone. So when you're shooting video, you can have your microphone on you if your video is a little bit far away. I think they're $80 or $90. They're an incredible microphone. My collaborator uses them all the time. I'll put the link below. It's awesome. So consider that. Audio is king. Don't forget. All right, let's talk about the setting. When you shoot video, what are you going to do? Well, I shoot a lot of my video in my studio. My studio is a bedroom at my house that I do music, and I record high quality music in the studio. And I have a lot of acoustic treatment in this room. Sometimes I'll shoot video out in my backyard, or sometimes I'll go to the park and do video. I like doing that as well. I've done it when I'm in Vegas. I'll walk around the strip and do a video with my hand held out like that, just talking like that. I like video in different places. It's fun changing up the background. Now, at the intro videos to this was all done in my living room, and it's a nicer space. It was decorated by a decorator at one point, and it has sort of a lounge feel. In fact, a lot of people come over to my house and shoot video in this living room because it just has a classy look to it. And that's thanks to my godfather, actually. He's really into antiques. So you don't need that, of course. You don't need any of that. But consider picking up the dirty laundry behind you. Consider making sure there's not a mirror reflecting the fact that you don't have pants on in your video. Consider reflections. Consider all kinds of things that might be a turnoff to your audience. Consider the fact that when people are staring at your video, they're also looking behind you. Now, I love lights and I love instruments, so I put that in there. And I have a plant. That's Wilbur, my plant. And I think it looks okay. It's not the best. I've seen other people make way better backgrounds for their videos. That's just not my forte. But as long as it's not offensive, I think that's what matters. So consider those things. Consider also clothing. Figure out what you want to wear in your videos. I personally am a t-shirt kind of guy, so I try to choose a shirt with no label. I don't have any pockets on. It's less distracting. If I tried to wear a tie and a suit, I think I'd be too formal and it would change the way I come across in my video. I want to feel comfortable. As far as hair, like literally for some of you that's going to be a big issue. You don't want to get on camera unless you do your hair just right. I would get in the habit of doing something very simple, especially for you females. Don't overdo the makeup. Makeup and hair can really look plastic. It can come across very contrived. If you're trying to show your audience authenticity, then don't overdo yourself. I mean, it's okay to put some makeup on it. Whatever you think is, helps your look, that's totally legit. That's totally cool. But if you overdo it, if it looks like you're going to the prom, it comes across, it's offensive. Not offensive. It just turns people off. And I don't want you to do that. I want everything you do to have a reason I want it to be done with intention. Lighting. When you're setting up to do a video, make sure people can see you. If you have a lot of lighting behind you, without lighting in front of you, you will just be a big silhouette in the screen. And you don't want that. You want people to be able to see your eyes. It's better that people can see you and nothing in the background than to see everything in the background and not see you, right? So you want to make sure you have plenty of light in front of you. Daylight is seriously one of the best. If you're shooting in the middle of the day, get in front of a window with a lot of light and it's pouring in, you will have no problems with lighting. If you're doing it kind of late and at night, make sure you have some lamps on and some lights so that it fills the room so that when you're shooting your video, people can see you. Now, in my studio room, I'll show you, I have some photography lights that I use, which are okay, but I used to have those straight on me and I used to get headaches a lot. And I don't know about you, but I don't like lights shining straight in my eyes. It's awful. So I have a different setup. I have a new light. It's controlled via Bluetooth. It's really, really cool. They are a little pricey. I'll put it down below if you want to check it out. This is only for you advanced people if you want to get into more of advanced stuff. But I like it because you can control the warmth and the coolness of the light as well as the brightness. And I have it actually kind of dim. I don't have it real bright shining on me right now. And I really like this setup because I don't get headaches. There's a lot of light being thrown at the walls and I get that reflected light back at me. So it's really nice. So these are tips you can use for your bedroom. You can also use those spotlights that you can get, those little spots you can get from Home Depot. I have some around here somewhere. It's just like a can, and you put a bulb in there and you can put it in any room and it's got a clip on it and you can clamp it to something. Those are great, but I would throw them at the ceiling and walls and let yourself be saturated in the reflective light and not straight on you, unless you like that look. Now you can also go into your camera and adjust for the brightness and the saturation and brightness if you want to do that as well. But really consider being well lit in all your videos. You don't have to have anything fancy. You don't have to spend a bunch of money on extra lighting. You can do this with the stuff that you have at home and the sun. Let's talk about props. Now, what do I mean by props? If I'm giving a video on keyboards and I'm talking about, musical keyboards that you could purchase, I might have one in my hand and show you. It's a way easier to talk about it, right? Just like you would on stage if you were talking about it. Always consider anytime you have a prop, use it, just like I did with the selfie stick. One of the things I love to do is to draw on my iPad when I'm teaching because I can really get into it. And when I'm doing a Zoom call, Zoom actually has the feature to where I can project whatever I'm drawing on my iPad. And it's really easy to convey messages that way. I love that. But you could do it a lot simpler. You could just use a camera and I could use a legal pad and I could just draw on that. I could use a whiteboard behind me or a chalkboard or one of those big flip charts. You can do that. That's done a lot in presentations. So really consider when you're making points to use those, use props, use ways of conveying messages so that people have to take notes. They have to write things down. It's a really, really good way to convey information. One of the things you want to look out for is called audio-video sync. It's often called the lip sync issue in video when referring to it. What it is if the video is out of whack with the audio like I'm doing right now. Isn't this annoying when my video and my audio aren't lined up right? Super annoying. You want to make sure if you're using a camera that's an external camera from a microphone that when you go back to watch it, you don't have this out of sync issue. Now, this is not going to probably be an issue for you if you're using your mobile phone, but if you're not using your mobile phone, be aware of this. This can turn people off. It's less engaging. Next, do you need a green screen? Heck no. I started out using green screens back in the day. Bad idea. In fact, they're way more trouble than they're worth. They require a lot of software and editing skills, lots of lighting. They require a lot of stuff. Now, what is a green screen? It's when people put either blue or green behind them, and then they make it look, they edit that out in software so that it looks like there's an ocean or a mountainscape behind them, and it looks like they're standing in a field or something like that. It's a way of making yourself look like you're in a completely different place. It seems like that would be engaging, but it is so hard to make that look right that it often looks weird and annoying and not good. And it'll limit yourself from just shooting video. You don't want to do anything that's going to bring you back and go, oh man, this is going to take too much work. I don't want to do this right now. You want to just get in there and start making video, right? So anything that takes too much work, consider not doing that. Some of you are probably thinking, okay, I shot some video, but I want to trim some of it out. I want to take some of it out. What do I do? How do I do that in software? Well, there are some great softwares. I use one called ScreenFlow. It's my favorite one. I've been using it for years. They've gotten better and better. It's really easy to use. But I actually started using iMovie. Now, I'm a Mac user, so I used iMovie, which comes with any Mac, or QuickTime, which comes with any Mac. And you can use it has very basic controls in that. And I found that with iMovie that it was a little clunky and it crashed a lot. So I switched over to one called ScreenFlow. I like it a lot. But here's the thing, even if you don't have any editing software capabilities, that's totally fine. If you upload a video into YouTube, did you know you can use YouTube after it's uploaded and you can trim out the beginning, you can trim out the end, you can even trim out parts in the middle, you can blur things out. So if you're showing somebody some confidential information, you can go in and blur that stuff out afterwards, which is really, really sweet. So just remember that YouTube actually has a lot of capabilities once you've uploaded it into YouTube. You know, Bill has never edited a video. He prides himself in that. And I think that's so awesome that he has built his entire business with video, having never learned how to actually edit a video. Now he's gotten better over time. He's learned a little more about audio and lighting and you know, placing himself in the image, those types of things. But what's really cool is you don't have to master this stuff. He's a great example of not having to master this to have a lot of success. So I would recommend ScreenFlow. There's Adobe Premiere Elements, which is really popular for PC, but these softwares are going to cost you money. I'm going to put a link to some of the best software out there right now. It's just a guide that might help you. But again, if you don't want to get into that, you don't need to. Lastly, be expressive and be you. When you're on video, when you're on film, use your tone of voice. Don't try to make your voice different. Don't try to use an accent. Don't try to be cooler than you really are. Don't try to be more gangsta than you really are. Just be yourself. It'll go so far. People will trust you when they sense that you're being yourself. They don't trust people who are putting on a facade. I hope that helped. If this video was helpful to you, will you please hit that like button and consider subscribing and sharing this with somebody that you think could benefit from this video. We love passing on solutions that make life a little more stupid easy. One more thing, we have a crash course we do very regularly, and it's totally free, and it's all about how to build an online course. We give a whole crash course on how we do this. If that interests you at all, you can sign up below. There's a register button below in the comments. We would love to see you there. All right, guys, that's it for this week. We will see you on the next video.